We are absolutely delighted and privileged and honored, actually, personally, to have Dr. Professor Marshall Goldsmith with us this afternoon. And I'm an avid fan. I'm a reader. I read this book ages ago and I use it almost like the Bible in my life. What got you here won't get you there. And that's become the philosophy of my life, that I have to keep learning new things. And now we have Triggers. This is the second book. Professor, welcome. Good to see you. It's
great to see you again.
Real pleasure, everything.
Thank you so much.
Every time I see you, I remember your wonderful Buddhist teachings. I remember how you have an expansive heart and you just give, and you just create so much new abundance.
Thank you.
We'd love to share some of your thoughts and ideas for the young people and people who are going through very difficult times right now.
Yes.
And the world is getting a little wobbly with all the various black swan events that have happened.
Right.
What is your quick advice to the young people who are looking for jobs, looking for opportunities, looking to create something for themselves?
I think it would be very consistent with what you've been teaching. That is continuous learning. To realize the world is changing rapidly, it's not going to stop changing, and that you're not going to, quote, get there. What got you here won't get you there. You're really going to have to focus on lifetime learning.
Yeah.
And it's not going to stop when you get older. It's not just for the young, it's for all of us. And you're going to have to ask, you're going to have to listen, you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to focus on continuous growth in the midst of doing the hard job that you already have.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. If you can also, though, look at it as an opportunity.
The young people, and for that matter, all others, people who are in jobs, they're hitting little barriers and road bumps. And your book here talks about change and how you bring about change, bring about lasting change. Can you just guide us through that process? What are the couple of triggers that we have that will enable us to cope with this level of change?
Well, I think one thing I talk about in the book, a great learning point I had from Peter Drucker. I was on his advisory council for 10 years, and although I got ranked #1 leadership thinker in the world, compared to him, I think I have the intellect of a 10-year-old. Such a smart man. He taught me many wonderful lessons. One lesson he taught me is very consistent with what you teach. Our mission in life is to make a positive difference, not to prove how smart we are, not to prove how right we are.
Yeah.
So I think the young person in the organizations needs to constantly ask, how can I make a positive difference? Not I'm going to prove I'm smart, not I'm going to prove I'm right. How can I make a positive difference? And then really focus on, am I willing at this time to make the investment required to make a positive difference on this topic? And if you are, go for it. And then how do I make a positive difference? Realize the decision maker is a customer. You need to learn to influence people. You need to learn to sell.
Yeah.
You need to sell what you can sell and make peace with what you can't sell. And really go through life just looking for opportunities and ways to make a positive difference.
There is a new phrase that is being thrown around, which started this year. It's called the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And we've come out of the sort of technology and internet revolution, and now with robotics, automation, or artificial intelligence, the world is rapidly changing at a way faster rate than it has before. So the Moore's law is taking us like that, and the rest of the world is changing like that. Now, there's this huge delta, and that keeps growing.
Right.
What are the ways for senior employees and junior employees to actually bridge that?
Well, the analogy I use is that of a wheel. Now, let me give you an example. On LinkedIn, I have about 460,000 followers. I send a blog out. It maybe goes to 4 or 5 million people. That doesn't mean 4 or 5 million people read the blog. It means for a second or two, it's at the top of the wheel.
Right.
The wheel turns. And then eventually that blog is off the wheel. And if they're not there, they don't click the right button, they never see it, it's gone. Yeah. They may see it later, highly unlikely. Yeah. Well, in life, we all have this wheel of information that's constantly spinning, and as you mentioned, the wheel is spinning faster and faster and faster. Very important, whatever you want to do in life, you have to constantly think, I've got to keep it on the wheel. I've got to keep it on the wheel. I pay a woman to call me every day. Every day she listens to me read questions I wrote and provide answers I wrote. Why? Someone said, don't you know the theory about how to change behavior? I wrote the theory. Right. So I pay the woman to call me. Keep it on the wheel, day after day after day. And the more rapidly that wheel turns, the harder it is to keep anything on the wheel.
Right.
So you need to constantly realize in this rapidly changing world, if I don't keep it constantly on the wheel, I'm going to get further and further and further behind.
You talk a lot about letting go
Right.
in leadership, and one of the things I find often very difficult to do is to let go.
Right.
What are the kinds of things we need to have to let go?
Well, again, ask this question, am I willing at this time to make the investment required to make a positive difference on this topic? If the answer is yes, do it. If the answer is no, take a deep breath and let it go. So much of our lives are wasted quibbling over things we're not going to change. In Dubai,
Yeah.
it's hot. Oh, it's hot in Dubai. How many millions of hours been spent people pointing, it's hot in Dubai. That's a breakthrough. It's hot. Or Donald Trump. How many zillions of hours get spent on Donald Trump's not going to change because of you.
Yeah.
Put your time and energy in where you can make a difference. Don't waste your time on a bunch of stuff you're not going to change anyway. Focus on what you can change. That way you save so much time. Because you're not wasting time on this all extraneous nonsense you're going to do anything about anyway.
The flag that I fly is the flag of madness. I'm mad as in making a difference. I'm
Right.
mad because I'm off center. We're doing crazy things to help people to change the world. What is your definition and advice for mad people like me and others who are out there?
Well, I like the phrase, make a difference. That's very consistent with this Peter Drucker advice. Make a difference. My only bit of advice is the difference between understanding a theory, and you refer to this as education,
Yes.
and actually changing behavior, which you call learning. There's a big difference, as you mentioned to me, between education and learning, and we would like to believe I read a book, I meet a teacher, somehow the world is a different place. Not so much.
Right.
It's that day-to-day follow-up, that day-to-day reinforcement, and realize this is a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey, it's not an end state. You're not going to, quote, get to some place and stay there for eternity.
Right.
The world is changing, and you have to look at this as an ongoing evolutionary process, not an event.
One of the key cultural issues that we encounter all the time in this part of the world, and in other parts of the world too, is the question of failure. And the stigma, the blemish that you get, and the inability to cope with failure. What are your sort of couple of comments and bits of advice on how to handle failure?
A very positive phrase. If it doesn't kill you, it'll probably make you stronger.
Absolutely. My father used to say that.
Yeah, if it doesn't kill you, it'll probably make you stronger. And we all fail. I mean, I fail pretty much every day. I fail something or other, right? And okay, life goes on. You learn from failure. And I think a comment you made that was very wise is often we learn more from our mistakes than from our successes. And again, we make mistakes, admit them.
Yeah.
If we insult others, do the wrong things, apologize. It's okay. We're all humans. And just admit to our own humanity and admit we probably need help to get better. One thing I'm very proud of in my book, Triggers, 27 major CEOs endorsed that book. 27. CEO of the Year in the United States, number 3 greatest leader in the world, winner of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, CEO of Pfizer, Best Buy, Target, all these famous people.
Yeah.
Why am I so proud of that?
Yeah.
You know why? They're humans.
Yeah.
They all say, I need help. It's okay.
Yeah.
30 years ago, no CEO would admit to having a coach. They'd be ashamed.
Yeah.
Why? They're ashamed to need help. Now, people are not so ashamed. That's a good thing.
Yeah. One of the things is about coaching and mentoring, and you as the number one coach in the world, what kind of methodologies should people adopt in terms of the mentoring process and the coaching process in terms of success? Because I think a lot of people learn and then they stop, but they don't have this ongoing coaching and
Right.
learning. Any quick comments on how to
Well,
develop?
what I do is I help people learn from everyone around them. Someone asked me today, do I have to be an expert on every culture I work in? Not at all. I've been to 97 countries. It would certainly be pompous for me to pretend to be an expert on 97 countries. I've been to Saudi Arabia 5 times in the last 2 years. That doesn't mean I'm an expert on Saudi Arabia at all. What I teach people to do is a process of learning from everyone around them. It's a process you can use throughout your life. Identify your key stakeholders. Get in the habit of asking the key stakeholders, how can I be a better? Learn to listen, thank people, don't judge and critique what they say. Never promise to do everything. Listen and learn and do what you can. And then just repeat the process over and over and over and realize it's a lifelong process of learning. It's not an event. It doesn't stop. And it's something you should do the rest of your life.
One of the key learnings from your coaching that I'm making it my life, is to do one thing.
Right.
to do one thing really, really well, and
Yes.
everything else just falls away.
Right.
What is that the advice you would give to most people?
Well, I will say it's advice for me. My mission in life is helping successful leaders achieve positive, lasting change in behavior. That's it. If you do a Google search, helping successful leaders, the top 500 hits, 450 are me, and the rest of the world is 50. Well, that's pretty clear focus.
Right.
I have a clear focus. I don't try to be everything to everyone. I'm certainly not an expert on all topics. And I find I don't have less credibility. I have more credibility when I say, I really don't know anything about that topic. Then people think, okay, he's honest.
Yeah.
It's okay. When you say, you really admit you don't know anything about some topics, and when you do express an opinion, people are much more likely to take you seriously because they realize you don't pretend to be an expert on everything. And none of us are smart enough to be an expert on everything anyway.
Exactly. And finally, Professor, advice to entrepreneurs and innovators and young people in terms of hope. We're going through difficult times, volatile times. What is a key lasting message for them, a message of hope?
Keep trying. I mean, if you look at it, my book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, was my 23rd book. After 22 books, it was nice to write a book that someone finally bought. Well, the first 22 books were purchased largely by my mother, my father, and assorted relatives.
Right.
You know the learning point?
Yeah.
Keep trying.
Keep trying.
Keep trying. If you look at most entrepreneurs have been bankrupt. Many have failed several times.
Yeah.
You know what they do, though?
Keep trying.
They keep trying, and eventually, you try long enough, you might win. You're not going to win if you don't try, though.
One of the questions I'll edit back in, but as we were discussing earlier, is a lot of entrepreneurs, they end up dropping out of school, and, but they carry on with ongoing learning. There's this tension now more and more that people are working to learn more and educate less. Is that something that you find as you travel all over the world?
Well, I mean, to me, what is important is making a positive difference, not being smart, or proving you're smart, or getting academic knowledge. To me, I'm not a great believer in interesting, obscure academic points to make interesting, obscure academic points. I'm a very practical person. And again, back to this concept of make a positive difference, learning practical tools that you can take back in the real world and do something with, as opposed to more abstract or theoretical concepts, which may be interesting. No one in the world is going to have a better life because of this.
We're here with Professor Marshall Goldsmith, courtesy of Right Selection, who are our media partners, and they bring in great people like Professor Goldsmith, and they talk to us, and we go out and reach the world. And we had a delightful conversation about change and about hope and about the future. Professor, thank you very much. My madness is really, to make a difference and do wonderful things with you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.